I know a lot of us are health conscious these days, and this is my blood pressure chair. So oftentimes in the mornings, this is where I come in and kind of enjoy that quiet morning time, and I take my blood pressure and kind of begin my day. But it got me to thinking not only this, but also just things that have been going on in general around our church and with others that I know. And it deals with this idea of the gift of healing. And I know that there have been times where people have asked me if I believe in the gift of healing. And, that's a complicated question to be asked because I wholeheartedly believe that Jesus did heal people. And I do believe that there is a gift of healing. And I believe as well that as we pray, God hears those prayers and sometimes does bring healing to us. But I'm also very aware that healing doesn't always happen. And there are times when we pray diligently and fervently for God to heal someone and it doesn't happen. And that can be a problem. I mean, it really can be a problem for our faith. It can be a problem with us wondering, how does this gift of healing work? I mean, it was very clear in scriptures that if there's someone who is blind or immobile or someone with a dreaded, terrible skin disease, that Jesus often would heal that person of their physical ailments by touch or just by word. And so why doesn't that happen today? Why do we not experience that same level of miraculous healing today? And I struggle with that. One of the stories that I'm always drawn to in the New Testament is a story that's found in the Gospel of Mark. It's Gospel of John. It's about a time where Jesus was passing by this area, the Pool of Bethsaida, and there were hundreds of people who were blind or immobile. And as they passed by, and all those hundreds of people, there was one man that Jesus talked to and asked what he could do for him. And he explained that by that pool, whenever it was stirred up by the Spirit, whoever was first in would be healed. And he was never able to get there because he couldn't walk. What was fascinating to me about that story, though, is that there were hundreds of people there. But according to the story in the book of John, only that man was healed. Only one man was healed. And again, so it really makes me wonder, how does God work in terms of this gift of healing? Why are some healed and why are some not healed? Why did Jesus sometimes heal one person and other times heal everyone who was brought to him? And you know what? I don't have the answer to that question. I wish I did. I wish I had the answer to that question, but I don't have it. But as I was thinking about this, another thought came to me. And that thought is, yes, it's true that very often Jesus did heal those with physical ailments. But do you know what's interesting about a lot of those healing stories? The ones where we are given a lot more detail, is that Jesus didn't only heal someone of their physical ailments, but really Jesus was also healing them from perhaps their social ailments. Those places where the community was throwing them out because of their illness. Those places where the community kept their distance from those people, from these individuals, because of superstitions about those illnesses. And what occurred to me is that perhaps that was the most important thing that Jesus was doing. It wasn't so much just about the physical healing of individuals, but it was also about trying to transform the community that he was trying to build into a community where there would be more acceptance, more of a readily available idea of compassion that would be handed out to folks. In the Gospel of Mark, in the 5th chapter, there are 3 healing stories in this chapter, one right after another. The first one has to do with this demonic man who was in this other region, and Jesus went to the other side of the lake, and as he gets to the other side of the lake, he's greeted by this man. Well, not really greeted, he's haunted by this man who has been chained up because they were afraid of him. He's been chained up and put on the outside of the city. And Jesus changes that man's life. But even most importantly, perhaps, he sends him back into that community where this man can minister within the community and people will begin to accept him again. The second and third healing stories are combined together. It's about how there was a crowd of folks and they wanted to, there was a man there who needed his little daughter healed. And so Jesus was on his way to heal that daughter. And on the way, there is a woman who is there, and she has this issue of blood. We don't know really what was going on there, some kind of hemorrhage, which would have made her unclean because women were considered unclean when this was their time of the month. And so for this story, this woman has tried everything, and it says she's tried everything and she's gone to many physicians and she was not healed of her illness. So she comes to Jesus and she thinks, if I just touch his cloak, then I'll be made well. And that happens. She touches his cloak and she's made well. But that's not where the story ends for her, because after that Jesus says, who touched me? And when she finally fesses up that it was her, she tells her story. Jesus calls her daughter. He brings her back into the wholeness of community. I don't know. I guess as much as we all want healing, as much as we all would pray to God to bring us back to our full physical health if we're ailing with something or someone we know is ill, as much as we may want God to do that, perhaps one of the messages in Jesus' healing is, even if this person isn't physically healed, we can do as Jesus did. Show compassion. Show care. Do not allow the things that would keep us from that person to want to enter into their lives. You know, sometimes I think that is the biggest thing that's lacking in our community. The ability to truly reach out to people in the midst of their pain and the midst of their illness, and really embrace them and let them know how much you care about them and love them. So do I believe in the gift of healing? Yeah, I do. I do. I also know it doesn't always happen. But here's the thing. When it doesn't happen, that doesn't mean that we can't be a people of compassion and love and care. So let us not just pray for that healing, but let us find a way to do as Jesus did when it came to dealing with those who were sick.